Welcome everyone to the Tom Colohue channel. This is spoiler warning. Be sure to hit like on your way in because we have plenty of wrestling news to talk about. I'll go through the headlines pretty much immediately so that you know where we are and where we are heading. We're going to start in depth talking about 2K24. We're going to talk about Cody's cover. We're going to talk about Rhea Ripley and Bianca's cover. We're going to talk about CM Punk as DLC. The potential for names such as Nia Jax and AOP have recently returned, also being DLC. We're going to talk about a little bit about Bray Wyatt's involvement in the project, how he'll be respected in that way, and that there were no actual plans for him to be on the cover. We have news on Gable Steveson, how much he's costing the WWE and what they're considering to bring him in. We're going to talk a little bit about an interview that went up on the channel on Saturday and my plans for that. CM Punk has been accused by Brian Alvarez of basically forcing AEW's Tony Khan to change the format of his promotion. You'll be expecting a response on that. This week's WTF Wrestling was about Seth Rollins. We're going to really just kind of summarize what's happening with Seth Rollins at the moment. Bianca Belair and Montez Ford and their current reality TV opportunities are making a lot of people very, very happy. A little bit more on Drew McIntyre, just a very tiny bit there. A little bit on plans for this Wednesday. And finally, I have something from the creative and cinematography section of the WWE. It's a little positive piece of news that I hope people enjoy. The fact that I've said creative and cinematography will likely give you a hint as to what it is. So if you haven't hit like yet, be sure to do so. We have 47 people here, and if we immediately get 47 likes, we'll have like 80 people here, at which point we'll immediately get 80 likes, at which point we'll have 80. You see where I'm going with this, guys? You see where I'm going with this? It's a chain reaction and it does massively boost the availability of this channel. It massively boosts this platform and finds new viewers. So please do remember to hit that thumbs up, even just to help people who already know about it get it onto their main page. I want to say a massive hello to everyone. Quite a lot of people chatting away. I appreciate all of you. I love that you had a little talk about your predictions before we even started. Let's get to our first piece of news, and that is about 2K24. WWE 2K24 has been officially announced today, pardon me, with a number of additional features, such as, for example, multi-championship matches in Universe mode. There's plenty more matches for the GM mode as well, plans for trades between different promotions, or should I say brands, and the actual referees are actual people now. So some pretty significant changes to the WWE 2K format, but a lot of people have really zeroed in on the covers. Cody Rhodes is on the cover of 2K24. The deluxe edition will have Rhea Ripley and Bianca Belair on the cover as well. If you were here on Friday, you'll be aware that Bianca Belair versus Rhea Ripley is a match that they're currently putting forward for WrestleMania 41 way ahead of time. It's usually around this time every year, by the way, that they start to build towards the top matches at the next year's WrestleMania. And it's about time the women had a main event, let's not say otherwise. Now, as regards Rhea and Bianca Belair, this is an intentional effort by Triple H, mostly to make a very clear direction and very clear statement of who is the top of the industry right now. Triple H is making a statement. As I mentioned previously, the time of the four horsewomen is coming to an end. We are going to get sort of the relaunch of Bayley a little bit. Becky's going to be involved, but we are in an age of Rhea Ripley and Bianca Belair now. Triple H is making that statement. As regards Cody Rhodes, this was largely requested by 2K24, not necessarily WWE pushing that one, but it's a option that they certainly weren't unhappy with. As regards Cody Rhodes in general, we've been told a number of times about different face-heel dynamics and platforms and flow charts and everything that you get backstage. The creative team no longer uses so many, oh, this is a face, this is a heel, this is a top face, we should connect these people, because there are a lot of people who aren't necessarily listed as face or heel. See vis-a-vis Gunter, who's not actually listed as face or heel. See Bobby Lashley, who's not actually listed as face or heel. See Bobby Lashley versus Gunter. I'm not going to shut up about it. Cody Rhodes is, however, firmly on the face side, and I'm led to believe that he's actually higher in the rankings of company face than Seth Rollins. Even the actual World Heavyweight Champion on Raw is not above Cody Rhodes when it comes to being face of the company. Triple H and the WWE in general have absolute faith that Cody Rhodes will be the guy for the next 10 years, and they're in a position at this point that they are planning to push him, at least this year, over Roman Reigns. Now, to be clear, I'm not sat here saying, here's the end result of the main event of WrestleMania, because I don't know. But they are planning to push him harder than they push Roman in 2024. 68 people here, 31 likes. Please remember to hit that thumbs up. I'm going to get to some of this chat because there is quite a bit of it. So, let's jump in. Spider-Boss says, do you think we could see Roman versus Nick Aldis? Yes, because everything is on the table and Nick Aldis will eventually wrestle. Golden Moody said, what up, Tom? What up, Golden? You are golden. Roger says, will you be buying 2K24? Unlikely. I just don't really have much time to play games, given that I have 2 jobs and 2 kids. WrestleBuzz says, hey Tom, hope all is well. Doing pretty well, thank you, WrestleBuzz. Thank you very much. Spider-Boss says, do you think Rhea will defend her title at the Royal Rumble? No. Chris says, Tony Khan is a boss, CM Punk didn't force him to do anything. More on that shortly. Michael says, hi Tom. Hello, Michael. King Adler says, hey Tom, now that Cody's on the cover, is there a possibility that Cody wins on Saturday? There was always a possibility that Cody wins on Saturday. The decision of who is going to win the Royal Rumble has no actual input from the decision of who's going to be on the front cover of 2K24. The other Mike says AEW ranking system was dumb anyways. A lot of people disagreeing with you on social media today. Matthew Johnson says, evening Tom and chat. Happy Monday. Happy Monday to you too, sir. Actually, while I'm going through this, I do have a question for all of you. And it pertains to, as I've just said about 2K24, Cody Rhodes is the main guy. He's the one on the cover for 2K24, the standard edition. Is that the right decision? And if you do not believe so, who would you put on the cover instead? Leon says, hi Tom, hope you're doing well. Doing very well, thank you, Leon. Spider-Boss says, many people on social media interpret Cody being on the cover of 2K24 game as Cody finishing his story. You definitely are following the wrong people. Daniela says, smash the like button if you haven't already, and please do. 4 more gets us to 40. Razar says, hi Tom, on a scale of 1 to 10, how excited are you for the Royal Rumble? I'm at a 4 currently. The Royal Rumble holds a very special place in my heart. It is the show I always get the most hyped for. I'm up at a 7 already, especially when you consider it's less than a week away. Daniela says, thank you for another show, Tom. You're very welcome, Daniela. Spoiler warning is a show I absolutely love, and I'm very happy to bring it to you. Just says, spoiler warning, it's cold outside. Walking home, but can't miss the show. Thank you kindly for braving the obstacles of the outside while still having me in your ear. Chris says, hey, Tom, there'll be 21 matches in Showcase. Pretty cool. Wrestler Fan says, will there be any more matches added to the Royal Rumble 2024 match card? Not sure, it seems unlikely at this point. Hello, noob, how are you? I'm doing very well, thank you. Spider-Boss says it's weird that being in his prime, Roman hasn't got a solo cover in the WWE 2K games. Yep, but he's part-time, so they're trying to focus on developing people. The cover isn't necessarily about who the top star is, but who the top star could be. The dude says, evening Tom, I enjoyed the interview you did. Hope you're able to do more in the future. We will be discussing that a little bit later. For those who haven't already seen it, I did release an interview on this channel on Saturday with AJ Ziegler, a wrestler who has worked on Ring of Honor, who has worked in New Japan Strong, etc, etc. So quite well travelled. Hasn't necessarily worked with a WWE as of yet, or AEW proper, but the time will come, I'm sure. We had a lot to talk about, but we'll get to that shortly. I'm glad you enjoyed it, the dude. Zane says, what are you looking forward to on 2K24? Not really playing it. Stovik says, hello Tom, hope you're doing well. I want to know, would WWE add one more match in Rumble pay-per-view and is Priest cashing in tonight? Yes, they would. Don't think they will. Yes, he could. Don't think he will. Lawrence says, I heard Cody, that little bitch, got the cover. Sai says, hi Tom and all, hope everyone's safe and well. Thank you once again, Sai, for your work recently. For those who haven't already seen it, let me just pop over to, what is the video stream. You'll see the WTF Wrestling logo, but if I do this, you'll see the Tom Talks logo, which I used for the interview. Quite a lot of new little showing off moments for me there that I quite enjoy. Thank you, Sai, for those. Noob says, the era of the 4 horsewomen is almost closing. It is indeed. Chris says, not a surprise. 23 says, will Big E be at the Rumble? If I knew, I wouldn't tell you until the Rumble, and you know that. Aled says hi. Hello, Aled. Ryan says keen to see the extras for GM mode in 2K24. H-Car says hi, Tom. Hello, H-Car. Razar says Cody's always felt like the top face. Even Gunter feels like a more important champion on Raw than Seth currently. I mean, he has a lot longer with the championship, to be fair. Chris says how happy are WWE with 2K24? They haven't played it yet, and as such, they don't know, but they're happy with the launch. Bailey says, hello, Tom. Any bigger rivals from NXT to the men's Rumble? There will definitely be some. Definitely be some. Andrew Quinn, you're right, mate. Says, hi, Tom. Sorry I haven't been in the comments recently. Been feeling a lot tired and forgot. Sorry. You don't need to be sorry, mate. I appreciate you being here. But I've been watching the videos. Also, the graphics are insane. Can't wait to get 40 years of WrestleMania edition. Somebody wants to splash out. Spider-Boss says, I like the 2K22 game, but I think Mercedes, Money and Drew should have been on the cover of that game. Crush thinks Cody is the right decision and says maybe LA Knight will be on the cover of 2K25. Lauren says Cody is the correct decision. Kervin says 2K24 cool, but the gameplay needs to be fresh and new, not the same from last year. I don't think they need to refresh anything because people will buy it anyway. I don't think they will refresh anything. After all, they seem pretty happy overall to have basically demolished Fight Forever before they've even started. Yeah, I said it. Mike says, any word on the progress of Big E? To my knowledge, he is not yet cleared, but is recovering relatively well and has regained a lot of his mobility. Spider-Boss says, I think Roman should have been on the cover of 2K24. Not unfair. King Azza says, I would have CM Punk on the standard edition, have Cody and Roman on the deluxe edition. So you wouldn't have had the women's, had any women on the cover. Ryan says, the choices for different superstars for different editions is smart. Nails the demand of the fans while capitalising on the biggest stars, past, present and future. Very fair. H-Car thinks it's the best decision and says, spoiler warning is my favourite YouTube show. Glad to hear it, H-Car. Always lovely to hear stuff like that. I appreciate you. Alex says, I would have put Gunter on the cover. Also not unfair. Juan says, hey Tom, according to Sportskeeda, they reported a quote from Dave Meltzer in which he stated there's a good chance TK signs Okada and Money. Is this a fifth hand source? Right. I appreciate that question, Juan. So, originally, if it was going to be either TK or Okada and Money, that would be your first hand source. The second hand source would have been someone who mentioned that to Dave Meltzer, because it seems extremely unlikely that any of those would report that to Dave Meltzer. Dave Meltzer would then be the third hand source, because he's a person who's been reported to. The fourth hand source would be Sportskeeda, which is where you got the quote from. The fifth hand source would actually, in this chain, you're going to like this, would be you, Juan. The fifth hand source would be you. See how that works? And that's how everyone's a journalist now, including you, mate. C-Max says, I did want to see Bray on the cover, but I understand why he's not. To be clear, as regards Bray Wyatt, I do have a little bit on that. There were never any plans to have Bray Wyatt on the cover, but he is likely to feature in the game. I can say that Bo Dallas has been engaging in the mocap for Bray Wyatt himself. Critch says, I've heard that CM Punk will be a part of the last DLC and they'll use his Royal Rumble gear. Where have you heard that from, Crush? What's your source? Tyler says, hey everyone, hope everyone is well. Haven't been in here for a few weeks. Well, I'm happy to see you, Tyler, and I hope you're doing well. Ross says, happy to be here live tonight after listening to the last few spoiler warnings on catch-up. Good work as always. Thank you, Ross. I appreciate you. Ghost says, hello, Tom and chat. Hope everyone is doing well. Doing very well, thank you, Ghost. Nice to see you as well, and I hope you're doing good. Selvik says, is it true that Maurice is a surprise for Royal Rumble? That's what PWInsider Elite implemented. I'd imagine that was reported. I don't have access to PWInsider Elite, so I'll take your word for that, Selvik. What I will say is that I haven't heard anything about Maurice myself, but it would not surprise me, given that there are plenty of people who want her back working with The Miz. They're currently angling for more reality TV work, and Maurice and The Miz are ideal people for that. So any more appearances she could make would be very, very beneficial for the WWE. Marcel says, hi Tom and chat, how are you all? Personally, doing very, very well, Chris. Appreciate you being here. Chris says, Fight Forever never stood a chance against WWE 2K. 23 says, what are your predictions for the Royal Rumble? I think I've been pretty open about my predictions in the video section. Wednesday, we should be live with our mailbag edition of Nick and Tom's Intercontinental Adventure, where we'll recoup, regather, re-explain all of our predictions as well. Vanessa, welcome, says Triple H will shock the world again this Saturday. Mercedes money, don't believe report. Okay, so you've now personally reported Triple H will shock the world with Mercedes money, and then you said don't believe it. I'm confused. HCar says Tom, at least casket match and ambulance match is in 2K24 and special guest referee. Alex says, do we know if CM Punk will be DLC? From what I'm hearing, CM Punk will be DLC, yes. 23 says, any chance of MJF or Okada at the Rumble? The exact same chance there has been for the last 5 years. Jack says, I would put all the top stars on the cover like they do on most posters. 2K aren't necessarily inclined to do so. Razar says, WWE has avoided uploading matches that involve Sasha and Naomi since they left, but recently started to post stuff with them. Is there anything to this? Not necessarily, no. It's more the fact that Sasha Banks, now Mercedes Money, and Naomi are in the headlines. The WWE social team aren't just uploading random matches. They are waiting to see who's trending on Twitter, who's doing well in Google Trends, and then they upload those matches. They know what they're doing. Rhea says, hey Tom, hope you're doing well. Doing pretty well, thank you mate. Welcome to the show. 23 says, Sasha at the Rumble. I haven't heard anything about that myself. I've explained as best I can what I know already. Chris says, my source was a guy named Lynch Reborn. 23 says, any Carmella news? Nope. Roger says, do you think AJ Lee will be in the Rumble? Personally, I do, yes. Personally, I do. Bailey says, when do they usually mention the site for the next WrestleMania? Have any cities been rumoured to host 41? Usually they're way ahead of time and they have it for about a year in advance, but it's a little bit more difficult now because it's no longer the case that every arena's pretty much completely available to them. Marcel says, Tom, do you know when 2K24 will release or come out? I'm not aware of any release date as of yet. King Arthur says, Tom, if Roman loses championship, I would want him to win the Rumble. It gives Roman go-away heat. It would be fun. I mean, it would be fun, but I don't see him losing the championship. It's a fair shout, though. What's that, Crush? What are you talking about there? Go says, has the selection process for the Hall of Fame begun yet? The Hall of Fame selection process starts several months ahead of schedule. I'm aware that it started, but Triple H is much better at keeping these things to himself. Andrew says, which legends are most likely to appear in the men's match? The ones that they've already spoken to. C-Mac says, can we expect to see Jade in the women's Rumble? I mentioned a few months ago that I'm expecting Jade Cargill to debut in the Royal Rumble. Vanessa says, don't believe reports are going to AEW. False. Vanessa, what's your source? Or is your source just, don't believe other people, only believe me? Because that's what it sounds like so far. Daniela says they're bringing in a gauntlet match type to 2K24 too. Thoughts? Monday Night Rollins. The other Mike says, probably dumb question. Nope. But do they get paid for being on the cover? Nope. Their image is licensed by WWE. WWE get paid for it. But ultimately they're paying anyway, so it doesn't really count. J Big says, no argument with Cody, but I would have loved to see Bray Wyatt on the cover. KJ says, what's up, Tom and chat? What's up, KJ? Kush is predicting Minneapolis for 41. KJ says, AJ in the Rumble, you think? Yes, personally I do. Oh, thank you, Aled. Thank you for that one. I must have missed that. 2K release date is March 8th. Pre-order is March 5th. Thank you for bringing that in. I must have missed that in my research. Rozar says, I remember talks that Minneapolis would host WrestleMania 41. I wonder if that's changed. Okay, so Crush is predicting something that apparently has already been reported. Always nice to see. Gotcha, okay. Revealed in their press release when they discuss gameplay, like they do on TV where if people die, there's multiple people who catch them. Okay. Zane says, who would you play as on 2K24? Becky. Didn't even have to think about it. The one 2K game I've got is, I think, 2K17, 2K18, one of those. I played it for about 2 months, and then I got bored. And every time that I look at a new 2K game, I'm like, I would be bored of that, because it's still exactly the same. I don't see any advance on it. Nothing. Ross says, which realistic surprise would you like to see, Tom, for men's and women's Rumble? I've watched the excellent fantasy booking videos, and Ross, you have definitely seen all of the surprises that I would personally throw in. Just to be clear, I wouldn't necessarily put X-Pac in there. I know there's a lot of talk about that from PWInsider. I wouldn't go for that. King Az says, hey Tom, would it be a surprise if The Rock is number 30? Yes. HCar says, Tom, do you think 40 years of WrestleMania would be probably the best showcase ever? I think it'll be the best showcase since their last one. Then they could choose a different engine, Crush. Like, they're limited by the choices that they make to limit themselves. That's not the same way. So Vigos is absolutely right here. That sports games, they hardly change, sadly. Pick FIFA, they never changed since FIFA 17. Not unfair. And as a guy who plays Football Manager, also kind of the same thing. So if I get bored of it in 2 months, I'm already bored of it before I buy it. GM mode is intriguing to me. GM mode, definitely. And if we could play it as we were intending to online, myself and Ed, we'd have had a great time with that, but you can't play it online. Just as a reminder to everyone, we are currently on 49 likes. One more gets us to 50. I'd be very appreciative if we got through that barrier. Kervin says better to do Rhea versus Bianca for SummerSlam, not WrestleMania 41, because injury can happen. You saw what happens, Charlotte versus Bianca, no more. Okay, so I get what you're saying, and that's why they should have done Seth versus CM Punk on the Raw after Survivor Series. That makes sense, right? Next piece of news is Gable Steveson. Now, I know people are not particularly happy with Gable Steveson at the moment, and I can't blame them. I also am not particularly happy with the WWE working with Gable Steveson. But we are where we are, and they are determined to use him. In the years since he has been essentially signed to the WWE and not really doing anything, he has been costing the WWE money because he's not on an appearance-based contract. His contract has been running the entire time and he's been getting paid the entire time. So the WWE are sick of waiting. They brought him in. He's been working with the Performance Center and a number of wrestlers there, including his own family, to get him up to speed. And the WWE, while happy overall with his wrestling, are not happy overall with reactions to him. WWE confidence in Gable Steveson is low. With this in mind, they're looking to bring in some help for him. They've contacted Kurt Angle to advise them on using a very similar launch to Kurt Angle's launch when it comes to Survivor Series, I believe 1999, when Kurt Angle debuted, was booed, and then turned heel during the exact same match. There's also talk of a potential pairing with Kurt Angle managing Gable Steveson in order to ensure favourable reactions to Gable Steveson. To my knowledge, Gable Steveson himself is looking to be a face, and is particularly unhappy with the reactions so far because he was confident that he would get very, very good reactions, being that he is, you know, a national hero. Funny how things don't work out. Yep, Crush, you're absolutely right. It would take years for them to get a new engine, and if they start now, they'll have one in a couple of years. Spider-Boss says WWE 2K games are good, but those games always have bugs. Yeah, pretty much. Got you, Ed. Okay, now I'm intrigued. KJ says WWE posted Banks and Naomi on YouTube, or are you all talking about the Rumble they posted from 2022? Yeah, it's a good question. If anyone can answer, KJ, that'd be great. C-Max says GM mode is great, minus all the glitches. Ew. So I want a Football Manager stream from Ed. I mean, Ed knows his football now. He watched too much of it. Chris says they really want Kurt Angle to get booed. Yeah. Michael also asking the question, similar to Crush and very fair, is he a national hero though? Is he? Is he really though? Bailey says most people in 2024 don't even remember Gable Steveson. Yeah, that's why they're not happy with him. Crush says that's what happens when you're actually a piece of trash. They'll never get him cheered. Matthew says I wouldn't mind a Team Angle 2.0. I wouldn't hate it if it was completely unrelated to Gable Steveson. Fair. Spider-Boss says Gable Steveson got booed in his match versus Corbin. Fans truly don't like him. Also, to be fair, Corbin's got a lot more respect than he used to. No age car. There will never be any news about Tyler Bate. Next up then, I want to briefly talk for a minute or two about the video that I uploaded on Saturday and my plans to do so. Shrewd viewers will now be aware, particularly if you follow on Twitter, that I recently became verified. Essentially, I am now subscribed on Twitter. There is a reason for this. I only use Twitter, well, X I should say, at this point to advertise this show and these streams. So with that in mind, if I can get more traction because of that, then that's the way I should be doing it. As many of you already know, I'm currently putting together a comprehensive list of all of the major stories that I've reported and that has absolutely been proven correct. There will be no, I reported this and it's kind of right. There will only be, I reported this, here's the evidence of it, here's a link to it, go and watch it. With this in mind, I will be putting that together and starting the upload around WrestleMania time. My intention essentially, and based on what I'm seeing, is to get around 100 different pieces of evidence that this YouTube channel is where you need to be. These shows are what you need to check out. I'm going to drive a lot of traffic because, as you guys know, I'm aiming for 1 million views. Part of that strategy now also includes interviews. I undertook an interview with AJ Ziegler, a wrestler, as I mentioned, who's worked Ring of Honor, who's worked New Japan Strong, a very talented man who also has his own YouTube presence and for a while was doing what I do now, which was just really intriguing to me. So we talked a little bit about that as well. I'll be taking quotes from that. I'll be posting them with little clips onto Twitter with tags and seeing how they go. For example, when he says, I got Dolph Ziggler, his job in New Japan. I think that's interesting. I'm going to share that. When he says, I went as a viewer, bought a ticket, and went to watch the very first Collision, and while I was there, I was told, can you wrestle? We need someone for Ring of Honor, so I wrestled on Ring of Honor. I find that interesting. I want to put that out there. We'll see how it goes. It's one of those that I can't guarantee it's going to be something I do non-stop. I can't guarantee interviews are going to be keepers, and I can't guarantee I'm going to be able to get regular interviews, as you guys know, I'm sure. But if I can break down that interview, get those quotes out there, get them in some of the different media outlets, and just see how it goes, then that lays a lot of groundwork for me to continue doing that exact thing going forwards. That's another way I can get more views on this YouTube channel and get closer to full time. 1 million views this year. That's the aim. And so far, so good. So far this year, we're on about 35,000. Yes, on Friday we were at about 22,000. It's been a good couple of days. Largely due to shorts. Which is not exactly the same thing, but hey, if it works, it works. If you haven't checked out the interview and you're interested in what I've just said, please do. It's well worth it. Thank you, Jack. Appreciate that. Appreciate that heads up. I know the ads keep popping up. Long term, it is good for the channel, but it isn't necessarily something I want to become too invasive, so I appreciate the heads up. King Azza says, Tom, do you think Seth is going to do what Batista did in 2009 with his arm only to take his cast off? I hope they do that with Seth. His knee, would that be a good idea? Not sure. Casts can be difficult props at times. KJ says, sorry Tom, when I joined in, you were talking about how WWE post people on YouTube based off Google Trends and Media Talk. What was happening, if you remember? Somebody was asking about why Sasha Banks and Naomi were being posted on YouTube and they weren't being posted previously. Spider-Boss welcomes back Pete Dunne. Kevin says, I want to see 2K remastered, old WWE game, SmackDown, Here Comes the Pain, and more. Spider-Boss says, do you see the Kabuki Warriors winning the women's tag titles on next SmackDown? No, but I do see them doing so eventually. Rosar says, I've not seen one person say a positive thing about Gable, not even the pro WWE trolls. That says a lot. That actually does say a lot, particularly as regards to the trolls in question. Wow. Daniel Berry says, yo, hi. Chris says, what are the chances Bayley wins the Royal Rumble this Saturday? High. Jack quite rightly pointing out she's the favourite to win. Michael says, Sean Ross Zapp, that'd be Fightful, reported today the morale in the AEW locker room is improved. Haven't heard of any backstage issues since Punk left. Coincidence? Correlation? Could be either. Could be coincidence. Could be correlation. I think it's also worth pointing out that when it comes to the issues, it might be that certain people have stopped reporting on them. Consider, for example, Brian Alvarez and Dave Meltzer really reported on a lot of issues that CM Punk was having, but didn't really report on issues that anyone else was having. Now, it seems like, based on this report, there are no issues other people are having. There's always something, though. Spider-Boss says, if you could interview one of the four horsewomen, who would it be? Becky? No question at all. Clyde says, push-ups and spoiler warning. Like always, hope all is well, Tom, and everyone in the chat. Continue hitting the like button, subscribe, and enjoy Raw later. Thank you, Clyde. Very much appreciate you for that. Alex says, hey, Tom. Hello, Alex. Michael says, I'd think the 2022 Rumble would be more about Ronda returning. Fair point. Marcel says, do you have any more news on Seth? Hope he is okay. My latest update on Seth was on Sunday's video, WTF Wrestling. More on that shortly. In fact, let me just go to my next piece of news, and then we'll get to that. Brian Alvarez of Wrestling Observer has accused CM Punk of making major changes to the format of AEW as a company. He is accusing CM Punk of essentially getting rid of the AEW ranking system, which is now returned under Tony Khan. To be clear, this accusation is coming via sources and not via Brian Alvarez himself, though he is, of course, in the chain of sources, as I explained in WTF Wrestling. To my knowledge, this is not the case. CM Punk was not involved in the running of AEW to the degree that is constantly being quoted. We are hearing a lot, and we've definitely heard a lot, about CM Punk basically going to people and saying, you can't do this, you can't do that. CM Punk was not in charge of AEW. CM Punk did not have the authority to change a ranking system that was promised right at the beginning. CM Punk, I'm told, is not happy. I personally expect House of Punk to be responding to Alvarez on that one. Hopefully not in the same way that he responded to Chris Jericho, but we are where we are with that one, in that we are nowhere, nothing has really happened, and there is potentially legal action happening backstage. I can't say anything without saying potentially first. I certainly don't want to be in that chain. We have 82 people watching and 56 likes. 4 more gets us to 60. If we can smash that 60, we may well be able to get up to 100 or so viewers, and I would appreciate that if you're able to do it. Thank you kindly. WTF Wrestling this week was about Seth Rollins. To summarise what I said at the end of that video, after going into a lot of detail as regards sourcing, second-hand, third-hand, fifth-hand sourcing, Seth Rollins is not believed to be skipping WrestleMania this year. Seth Rollins will have an announcement on Monday Night Raw, but I have no doubt in my mind that he will be available for WrestleMania. The title may be dropped, but no plans are being changed to my knowledge. The creative team is still building towards CM Punk versus Seth Rollins at WrestleMania, but only Triple H knows for sure what is going to happen. CM Punk versus Seth Rollins has been the plan since about 2 weeks before Survivor Series, and Triple H is not, I believe, of the opinion to change it. I'm confident we will still see Seth Rollins against CM Punk at WrestleMania, but I'm no longer confident per se that Seth Rollins will be the champion at the time. Alex says, question, will Authors of Pain or Paul Ellering be a DLC or playable characters? That was our top piece of news today, Alex. Not necessarily AOP, but 2K in general. If you're on the YouTube side, you can pop back to the beginning of the video and just double check there. As I can see, you're on the Twitch side. Authors of Pain, to my knowledge, will be DLC and then playable characters. KJ said, good to see you having all this success, Tom. I say it all the time, but I still remember when you hit 1K. I myself had some recent success thanks to the Royal Rumble. I passed 500 subs. Finally, congratulations, mate. If you were watching on Friday, you'll know that after you hit that 1,000 subs, subs become a bit of a hindrance. So it's a good thing that you're growing organically and you're taking your time with this. Promise you, you will find the exact right audience for your content over time. Eric says, any idea where NXT talent will be in the game? By the end, quite a lot. What I've been told is that there is going to be the most comprehensive wrestling roster, pardon me, that's ever been put together. By the end of this game's life cycle, they expect the roster to be bigger than any wrestling game has ever provided. With this in mind, I expect, shall we say, a lot of different Undertakers. Hector says, evening Tom, just joining. Have you mentioned or spoke about PWInsider's report on Drew not re-signing up to this point or no? Not yet. We have 2 pieces of news and then we will get to that. So stick around. Just to wrap up my previous point, if you haven't seen WTF Wrestling this week, by all means check it out. It went live yesterday and I feel it's a good one. King Azza says, do you see Jade debuting this Saturday? I don't see it till after WrestleMania in my opinion. Personally, I still see her debuting in the Royal Rumble. To my knowledge, it's Natalya who's been saying that she's more than ready. Roger says, will the SmackDown Watch Party ever return? Yes, but I cannot promise when. No comment, Buffalo. No comment. Legally, I will never comment. Spider-Boss says, never liked the ending of Roman versus Seth Rollins at the 2022 Royal Rumble. I think Roman should have won clean. I like that he didn't. I like that Seth got under his skin. I like it. Jason says, late to the game today, but greetings, Tom and chat. Wishing you all well. Pumped for the Royal Rumble this Sunday. Well, I'm glad you're pumped. I myself am pumped. I pump myself. I'm excited for a Royal Rumble. KJ says, dirt sheets just blame Punk for everything in AEW to make him look bad. Like, didn't Brian say today that Punk got rid of the rankings or convinced Khan to, and now the backstage morale is better? Yes. Chris says, breaking news, Imperium versus The New Day, Kofi Kingston and Xavier Woods tonight on Monday Night Raw. Isn't BWE suggesting that it's going to be something with Seth Rollins and Gunter tonight? I'll be interested to see how that plays out. Yes, KJ, that's what I said. Chris says, what would that mean for the World Heavyweight Championship? Either he keeps it, or I'd imagine we see something involving CM Punk taking it from him before time. For example, by winning the Royal Rumble. Spider-Boss says, Brian Alvarez along Meltzer are the worst anti-CM Punk guys in the wrestling media. Bailey says, what does WWE see now in AOP? Much like Karrion Kross, I don't see a lot of organic interest. They believe they'll be able to generate organic interest by having them come together and beat the hell out of people. Honestly, I'm there for it. On says, Seth Rollins could use a knee brace for the time being just to make it to WrestleMania like most athletes do to avoid surgery. I expect we're going to get something like that. I'll expect he'll be padded up, and I expect Damian Priest will smell blood. I've mentioned, and I stand by it, I do think CM Punk will be sort of protecting him. I just like that. Rhea says, if Triple H wants Priest's cash-in to be successful, I think the best time to do it is now, given Seth's injury. I would agree with that. I also think, and I stand by it, WrestleMania. Chris says, Tom can't wait to do an Undertaker gauntlet match. I mean, he's won Saudi Arabia gauntlets before. KJ says, yes, Tom, I remember you talking about the 1K subs. I was going to message you to get more on it, but I'll wait as I'm still far away. I think I could hit it by Mania. I'm more than happy to talk about this whenever anyone would like to. I previously, in the past, offered mentoring and tried to help people grow their channels. KJ, for example, I've never offered you mentoring of any sort, but every now and then I've messaged you and said, hey, if you tweak your title slightly, I think you'll do well with a few more views. I don't even know if it worked, but I like this stuff. I put a lot of work and effort into learning about these platforms that I stream on, and I want to share it if I can. Michael says, I had to mute the words BW and Boozer on Twitter. I don't get why he's quoted so often. Me neither. Roger says, I'm about as much of a fan of Jade Cargill as you are of Tyler Bate. Nope, you're not. 100% you're not. In no way, shape or form. Guys, when I say legally I'm not going to talk about it, that's not like, oh, I don't like this wrestler. I don't think they wrestle well. I don't think they're worth the money. No, that's not the situation. If you're interested, stop asking me and find out, because it's not a secret. It's genuinely not even a secret. HCard says, Tom, any news about Stephanie McMahon? None whatsoever. King Arthur says, do you see Gunter and Brock will have a face-to-face? I think they will be face-to-face in the Royal Rumble. Eric says, hi Tom, hope to find you well. I missed the first half. Can you please do a recap of the news you've already missed? Absolutely not, Eric. What I like to do here on YouTube, if you've missed news, pop back to the beginning. The top story's right there waiting for you. And then you can just catch straight back up just by dragging that along. Nice and easy. We don't do the recaps here because a lot of the people who watched it earlier will still be here. They'll get bored, they'll leave. That's why that is. So if you just want to pop back, you'll find it all there. Chris says, making the Rumble match for the World Heavyweight title isn't a bad move, and it's probably the best thing they can do if Punk's winning it. Possibly so, yes. Hello, Chris. And yes, of course, you can promote the Raw watch-along tonight on your channel. I'm more than happy for you to do that. Welcome, mate. Hector says, it's crazy that Seth had an on-screen back injury that he rarely sold just to end up with a real injury. That's Seth. Riyadh says, a Priest catching at Mania, especially in Seth's match, would be absolutely amazing and ironic. Yep. I've said it before, I will say it again. I think the heist of the century will be heist of the centuried. Spider-Boss says, I honestly pass when I see the words BWE, Boozer and SRS. I don't get why people quote them so often. KJ says, yes, Tom, I remember you telling me about that. I made like 5 Rumble videos and I used the same 2 titles because I think those titles drew for me. Yeah. Marcel says, Seth relinquishes his title today, have Priest attack him and cash in on him for more heel heat. Logic. King Alice says, if AJ and Sasha return to the Rumble, who will get a bigger pop? Sasha. HCar says, Tom, any news about Logan Paul? He's wrestling at the Rumble. Spider-Boss says, in your opinion, which was the worst Royal Rumble match you've ever seen? The first one. And Chris says, does CM Punk want to be champion? Every wrestler wants to be champion, mate. Every wrestler. Next up, Bianca Belair, reality TV. Triple H is actively encouraging Bianca Belair and Montez Ford in their efforts with the reality TV show that is going to be launching shortly. Essentially, it follows their careers from the build-up to last year's WrestleMania. He's also actively encouraging a lot of wrestlers, in fact, to look into reality TV and acting roles, which is why you see so many of them actively doing so. Triple H is openly saying to people, if you need time off for an acting role, let's make it happen. If you're trying to make a sponsorship happen, let's talk about it. He's trying to get wrestlers outside of the wrestling bubble. Particularly now that he has a much deeper roster, it would be a huge positive if people needed a couple of weeks off, because it just means opportunities for other people. Now, there are exceptions to this. Bayley, for example, is absolutely not allowed to go anywhere right now because she's so integral to everything happening in SmackDown. But when it comes to Bianca Belair and Montez Ford, thank you, Ed, they do have a show being launched, Love and WWE, following them as a couple. The WWE originally put together the Four Corners tag team match with the Street Profits picking up the win because they knew this show was happening. The WWE wanted to show both in a very good light, and while they have moved to the dark side slightly with Bobby Lashley, they have clearly changed direction, as I reported previously. Now, the WWE, particularly Triple H, believes that there is power couple, there is top of the tree, there is immense top-level talent in both Bianca Belair and Montez Ford. And while Montez Ford isn't quite there yet, Bianca Belair absolutely is. And that's one of the many reasons she is on the cover of 2K24. If Mike says, can't be the heist of the century if it's done twice. Explain that to WWE when it came to once in a lifetime, mate. HCar says, any news on the Judgment Day versus R-Truth? Nope, other than they're all having a great time. KJ says, speaking of the Boozer tweet about a possible Seth Gunter face-off, maybe that kind of confirms Seth will make Mania. Gunter may confront him saying he'll win the Rumble and challenge him at Mania. Well, then, you're adding on to like assumptions there, mate. There's no way around that. Yes, Chris, you did. By all means, pop back right to the beginning of the video. All of the 2K news is there. Crush wants the Profits to hold the tag gold. Spider-Boss says, WWE love reality shows. First Total Divas and Total Bellas. Now Bianca has her own reality show. There's plenty more in between, mate. Plenty more. Noob says, I would like to see Bianca Belair team up with Street Profits and Bobby Lashley to take on the final testament of WrestleMania 40. I would like that. That is a good idea, Noob, and I would be behind that as a concept. Hector says, Tom, I don't know if you mentioned it during your 2K24 news. One of the pre-order bonuses has torn Pet Cody as an in-game character, bruises and everything, which is absolutely great. Brutal. Brutal. Jason says, R-Truth is new to me, and he's a funny bastard. I enjoy him. Rhea says, I can't wait for when Montez Ford gets a serious singles push. He's fantastic and has money written all over him. There was talk specifically helmed by Vince McMahon this time last year about splitting up the Street Profits. Angelo Dawkins at the time was considered something of a liability. He took that and he made them eat their words. Hence why it did not happen. Drew McIntyre. PWInsider recently reported that Drew McIntyre has not yet signed a new deal with the company. A couple of weeks ago, PWInsider also reported that Drew McIntyre had not signed a new deal with the company. Now, if that's the case, I might start reporting every single week that Drew McIntyre has not signed a new deal with the company, because apparently it's going to keep going across the dirt sheet, so why the hell not? There is a very slight update that I have on this one. Negotiations are going pretty well. They're actively ensuing. Drew McIntyre is playing a little bit of hardball. He wants the belt. He's unwilling to settle for anything else, or so WWE officials have told me. Now, this does create some difficulty because at the moment, there is no plan for him to get the belt. No plan. At least not anytime soon. And promises of the championship aren't exactly what Drew is looking for. The WWE remain confident that they'll be able to sign Drew McIntyre because ultimately this is still the best place for him, and he knows that. That's what they believe anyway. But when it comes to the current negotiations, they have offered him plenty, and he keeps saying the same thing. He wants the belt. Pardon me, guys. I do have very weird sneezes. I had a lot of nosebleeds as a kid, so I abort sneeze. It's not intentional. That's just what happens. Nick and I, of Nick and Tom's Intercontinental Adventure, are planning to do a live version of PLE Wednesdays this week with our Nick and Tom's Intercontinental Adventure Mailbag Edition. So, I hope you guys will want to check that out about 10 p.m, 11 p.m. UK time. So, spoiler warning times on Wednesday. The intention with the mailbags is always the same. We go live, we ask you guys to bring your questions to us, and essentially, let's go live, let's shoot the breeze, let's talk Royal Rumble, let's talk about what Nick thinks is going to happen, and let's do final predictions. It's usually quite exciting, and we read through a lot of questions if we have a lot of questions to read through. What I will say is afterwards, it goes on to Nick and Tom's Intercontinental Adventure on PWTorch. So you will be featured, if you ask questions, on PWTorch. Now, when it comes to these mailbag editions of Nick and Tom's Intercontinental Adventure, I do advise you all to get there sooner rather than later. Not for any particular reason. Ed says it's a figure version of Cody Bruce 2, just like the John Cena figure from 2K23. Spiderball says, who do you pick as Bianca's WrestleMania 40 opponent? I actually really like what Noob's laid out there, so kind of that. Scarlett, why not? Temple says, Tom versus SCW Steve on 2K24 and NXT Steve as special guest referee. Hope you're doing good, bro. Doing well, thank you, Temple. Nice to see you, mate. Alex says, Tom, I forgot to ask this question. Was Bray Wyatt considered? Once again, mate. That was all answered at the beginning of the stream. Pop over to YouTube, zip back to the beginning, and it's all there. All there. H-Car says, Tom, hope Latino World Order win the Tag Team Championship. They are very, very far away from it. Chris says, to me, Drew saying he wants the title adds great importance to the title. Yeah, but it depends which title he wants as well, doesn't it? Red says, Tom, do you have any news on Tama Tonga? Nope. Spiderboss says, WWE makes many promises but ends up being plans change and others get pushes in titles. WWE do tend to do that. Bobby Lashley, for example, was told during the length of his first WWE contract when he returned recently, he would be getting a match against Brock Lesnar. It didn't happen. In fact, it was a major selling point for his second contract when he re-signed because they once again promised him the exact same thing they'd failed to give him the first time around. Brock himself wasn't keen, and essentially Vince McMahon had to say to Brock, shut the hell up and do as you're told. Also, it wasn't Vince, it was Paul Heyman, but you guys know what I mean. C-Max says, Drew would be better as a heel champion than a face one. Drew, of course, is currently a heel, so that makes sense. Roger says, former footballer, Adebayo Akinfenwa wants to wrestle in WWE. Seen him live. Bullies people. Eric says, if Seth somehow does not make it to Mania, I'd like to see Priest cash in on him. Then Drew challenges Priest at Elimination Chamber only to win the title and face Punk at Mania. That's some hot potato right there. And I wouldn't necessarily be behind it, but also, I wouldn't hate it. Last piece of news, a little one. The creative team and the cinematography team in WWE, which is essentially the camera staff, for those unfamiliar with the word, is said to be thrilled with Triple H's approach to their work post Kevin Dunn. Kevin Dunn had a lot more control over creative than many thought because he would tell them what shots he needed for hype packages, for trailers and the like, and as such, he'd be working out a lot of promos and saying, I need a line like this for this video package, etc. Now that Kevin Dunn is finished with the company, the creative and cinematography teams are said to be a lot happier because Triple H allowing them a lot more freedom and allowing them innovation. They're able to pitch ideas much more readily, and they are able to experiment much more during the live shows. Little piece of news, I know, but I did feel it was a good one. Feeling much better, thank you, AH Not one single cough during this one. Good so far. Chris says, if it were up to me, I'd have Drew dethrone CM Punk in Berlin. The contract may have expired by then. Spider-Boss says, Alba Fire and Isla Dawn appeared on TV after 210 days, lost in less than 3 minutes. Women's matches in WWE keep getting less and less TV time. Hashtag give divas a chance. Bismo says, hi Tom, missed a lot of the show, so watch from the beginning. Hope you're doing well, buddy. Doing very well, thank you, mate, and thank you kindly for catching up in that regard. And Roger says, were you a fan of Kevin Dunn? No. Because there's only so many times you can, do this with a camera. I'm not a fan of that sort of motion. Just, it's like a handheld and you're trying to do this all the time. It's constant stuff, and I'm not there for it. I'm not there for it. We've had 246 views, we've had 63 likes, we've had plenty of questions, and I just want to say a massive thank you to all of you for joining us. An average view time of 14 minutes 26 seconds, so plenty of you have been here from start to finish. I'm going to wrap up. I've been Tom Colohue, you've been fantastic, and I'll see you all very soon.